Good evening, everybody. The picture in the introduction was indeed me. If it's difficult to recognize, I just had a very close crop of hair. It's well, we've had as Interbrand, as world's leading brand consulting company, as a firm that started brand consulting way back in 1974, and pretty much known for creating an economic value for brands through the concept of brand value. We've done this for a few decades now with an objective of creating an awareness around the value creating potential of brands, of growth driving potential of brands. We have built considerable reputation around the concept of brand value and have advised, encouraged conversations around it through the league tables that we have, which are one of the top three more influential rankings around the world, placed alongside Fortune 500 and Great Places to Work, is Interbrand's best global brand. So we've had events, we do have events around the world, events that are similar to this. And we've had Hollywood stars and some of the global business leaders gracing our event. But the August company here is certainly no less. And when I say that Honorable Prime Minister, Honorable Ministers, and virtually the who's who of the corporate world of Sri Lanka, when I say that it's indeed an honor to be standing in front of you all and kicking off the inaugural event of the first edition of Best Sri Lankan Brands, we mean every word of it. It indeed is an honor, and thank you for gracing the occasion. What we really want to do is something that further derives importance from your graceful presence. And that's a bit of a restoration task, if I may use the word. And what's that restoration about? We often talk about benchmarks in today's world in the region, and Singapore often emerges. LKY, who's really the shaper of Singapore in 1965, was asked on who would he want to model Singapore on the lines of, and it was us. If you look at where we are today, there was about 5 to 6 decades back. And we all know there have been situations, there have been an unrest for over 3 decades, and we are only now getting into normalcy. If you look at where we are, and this is the Best Global Brands 2017 league table, the most valuable brands in the world. Within this, if we begin to look at what is the dispersion, what are the countries that have their representation in the list, where we have North America, with almost half the table being contributed by them. And we've got Guido's country contributing about 10, Germany, and so on and so forth. Where are the brands from the region? How many brands is the subcontinent contributing to the best global brands? How many Sri Lankan brands figure in the best global brands? Why? There are reasons. There are reasons that go back to our situation and our status when the Industrial Revolution happened around the world, which is when really the world leapfrogged in its evolution, in its industrialization. We, unfortunately, in many countries in the subcontinent, bypassed the Industrial Revolution. That's one of the reasons why we've moved from a position of historic preeminence, from being leaders of the world, so to say, to being followers. What's happening now really is Industrial Revolution 2.0. The kind of changes that we are seeing, the kind of technological interventions, the kind of digital interfaces, the kind of new ways of doing things that are really touching almost every walk of life today is nothing short of a second and even bigger industrial revolution. And if we bypass the first one, it's our strong desire that we shouldn't really miss the second one. So, what is it that we could do really? We need to outgrow. We need to quickly leapfrog. We need to outgrow a set of things so that we move from this permanent learning and following and being behind and being laggard and being catching up. We need to drop all those things and take few quick steps and get ahead and get back to the preeminence that we've been used to historically. That's something that we truly deserve. And that's something that we more than anything, that's something we are capable of. So what are the things that we need to outgrow? There are two broad things that we need to outgrow. The first one, and this is a picture of our global CEO, Mr. Jess Frampton, who commented on the Asian brands in the recent years about the mindset that we have to brands, which is really that of a deal. It is a bit of an expense, it's an overhead that you plonk alongside the marketing expenses, and it's at best a nice to have extra. Brands are led by businesses. Brands don't lead businesses. And that's one of the things that we need to outgrow as a mindset. The second thing that we need to outgrow is at a more practical level, at a more action level, is the confusion, is the way we do things, is to get more organized and more professional about managing our businesses and brands. And those are things where we could be of tremendous help with our experience. And it is about getting the benchmarking right to begin with. What is it that we are wanting to compete against? We need to compete, and we don't have a choice but to compete with the best global brands today. Even if we don't want to go to the global markets, the global brands are going to come to our markets. So the entire debate of whether we should compete with global brands or not, it's not a choice. We got to benchmark right, and therefore we need to begin with that. And then we need to get our management of businesses and brands correct and more professional, because that's how global brands are managed. And if we were to really be worthy competitors of the global brands who are our competitors now and would be in future, we don't have a choice but to do it in a similar manner. And there is an opportunity to seize the new focus that is all around individuals, that is around human beings. In the fast-changing world, increasingly businesses and brands are realizing that it's people who matter more than anything else. Even in the globalization, the futurists who describe the different eras of globalization, like Sir Thomas Friedman and Kenichi Ohmae, spoke about how globalization 1.0 was about armies and generals who went and conquered. Globalization 2.0, which lasted till the last decade, was about multinational corporations that went around conquering markets. And globalization 3.0, which is the era that we've entered now, is all about individuals with high sense of cognitive potential who sense opportunities and make connections. And therefore, individuals are going to be leading this era, and people are more important than ever. And if it is people, if it is human beings, if it is people's centricity, if it is about empathy and understanding people, it's about sensitivity, then we have a strong legitimacy to do that well, because we come in from a background of being sensitive and empathetic as a culture. That's where brands can play a role. That's when brands can play an anchor. And this is a picture of a paradigm that we like to share, where brands begin to anchor a whole lot of discussion on the inside of the organization. We do a lot of things inside an organization related to different functions which pretty much begin to operate like organizations themselves. They operate like silos, HR and distribution and R&D and technology and supply chain and so on and so forth. Each of these functions are investments that a business strategy warrants, and those investments are made. But seldom do the functions talk to each other. It's simple principles of efficiency that we use to create value by anchoring all of it together. And what could anchor it better than brands? So that's on the left-hand side. And if you look at the right-hand side, it is about the proliferation of touch points because of connectivity, because of technology. So we are doing a lot of things. And like we say often these days, brands increasingly are becoming a set of 1,000 gestures. It's not just one TV commercial or a print ad or a PR release. It's hundreds and thousands of little things that brands do. Again, suboptimally handled around the world, not just here. And if we're beginning our journey, it'll make sense to get it right from the beginning. What if we could make the entire expression side cohesive? Again, anchored into the brand. So that's how brands can help grow businesses better. That's how brands can help grow economy better. And that's really a favorite subject of ours, because coming after 3 decades of strife, coming into normalcy in the recent years, we have a lot of pent-up demand. We have a lot of catching up to do, and we need to outgrow things pretty quickly. And a lot of brands and businesses perhaps can do with a fillip that is a collective fillip. And that's where, pretty much like we talk about organizations, so we begin to see the nation and the country as an organization. There is a lot that can happen through the brand, the nation brand. So on the left-hand side, when we talk about the things we do inside the nation, it is about sectors and moving upstream in sectors like manufacturing and agriculture. It's about upskilling, education, and finance, which is microfinance and SME financing. It's about building technology. It's about building infrastructure. It's about reaping the cultural dividend. We have ethnic pride. We have a culture that is unbroken for 2,500 years. All that can be anchored into the brand on the inside. And if we do that on the outside, it begins to lead to an opportunity of anchoring the targeted tourism. It is not just promoting tourism, but segmenting the audiences and the opportunities and doing targeted tourism. It's about investments, about outsourcing. It's opportunities of cost arbitrage that we could still play up. It's about value-added exports. It's about regional co-ops. So there are a set of things on the outside, on the right-hand side. There are a set of things on the inside when we talk about country as an organization. And again, like in the case of typical classical businesses and organizations, even in the case of a nation, there is an opportunity of anchoring things on the inside and the expression on the outside through the brand. And those are things that we believe will drive value. Those are things that will create growth for us, but we need to change. We need to change because growth and change are inseparable. You can't grow without changing, and you can't change without growing. And that's really what I'd like to leave you all with, and welcome the next speaker, who will espouse a lot more authoritatively on the nation brand subject. Thank you.